The morning sky above Ethros burned with colors that should never exist together. Purple mixed with gold, while silver clouds drifted across three small suns that gave the planet its eternal warmth. Lyra Kethvar stood at the edge of the crystal, gardens watching the light dance through the tall spires of her city. Her pale blue skin caught the sunlight, and her long silver hair moved gently in the soft breeze. She was young for her people, but old enough to remember when the skies were peaceful. Now the beauty felt hollow. Every day brought news of another world dying. Every night brought dreams of fire and screaming that reached across the stars through the minds of her people. The Veltari shared thoughts and feelings across great distances, and this gift had become a curse. They felt every death as their own. Zara Nimtel approached through the garden paths. The elder counselor moved with the grace that all Veltari possessed, but her steps were heavy with worry. Her crystalline features showed the weight of years and the burden of leadership. She had lived through 1,000 seasons of peace before. The darkness came. "The council has made its decision," Zara said. Her voice carried the musical quality of their language, but the notes were sad. "We will send the call across the galaxy. Someone must answer. Someone must help us." Lyra turned from watching the sky. Her large violet eyes met the older woman's gaze. "Do you really believe the ethereal guardians exist? The stories are so old. Maybe they are just tales told to children." Zara placed her hand on Lyra's shoulder. The touch shared comfort through their natural connection. "The stories speak of beings who protect the innocent, who fight not for gain, but for what is right. If they exist, we must find them. If they do not, then we will face the end with dignity." The Krexnathi had come from the void between galaxies like a plague of hungry ghosts. They consumed everything in their path. Worlds that had stood for millions of years vanished in days. The creatures took not just life, but the very essence of planets themselves. They left behind empty husks of rock floating in space. 3 Veltari colonies had already fallen. Millions of voices had gone silent forever. The survivors who escaped told stories of living ships that grew larger by eating metal and stone. They spoke of creatures that learned from every battle and became stronger. Traditional weapons did nothing against them. Peaceful negotiations were impossible because the Krexnathi did not think like other beings. They only consumed. "I want to go," Lyra said suddenly. "Let me carry the message. Let me find the Guardians." Zara's expression showed surprise and fear. "Child, you are barely past your first century. The journey is dangerous. We have no idea where to look or what we might find." "That is exactly why I should go," Lyra replied. "I am young enough to adapt, fast enough to escape if needed. The elders are too valuable to risk and too set in old ways. You need someone who can think differently." The older woman studied her face. Through their mental link, she felt Lyra's determination burning like a star. The young diplomat had always been different from others of their kind. Where most Veltari sought harmony and avoided conflict, Lyra was curious about the galaxy beyond their peaceful worlds. She had studied alien languages and cultures while others focused on art and philosophy. "The coordinates we have are ancient," Zara warned. "They come from traders who claim to have met the Guardians long ago. The location is at the edge of known space. Many ships have vanished trying to reach it." "Our ships vanished staying here too," Lyra said. "At least this way someone might survive to tell our story." The decision was made that evening in the Great Council Chamber. The building rose like a natural crystal formation toward the stars. Inside, representatives from across their world gathered in circles of floating platforms. The chamber filled with the soft glow of their bioluminescent technology. Elder after elder spoke of their fear and desperation. Reports came from deep space scouts who had seen the Krexnathi fleet advancing. Massive organic ships moved between the stars like swimming predators. They would reach Ethros within weeks. "We have tried everything our science knows," announced the senior military advisor. "Our defensive satellites were consumed as quickly as we built them. Our fastest ships cannot outrun their hunters. Our weapons cause no lasting damage." "Then we look beyond our science," Zara declared. "Beyond our understanding. The old stories speak of the ethereal guardians who appeared when civilizations faced extinction. Warriors who fought not for conquest, but for protection of the innocent. Some council members protested that they were chasing myths while their world prepared to die. Others argued that any hope was better than none. The debate continued through the night until finally a vote was called. By the smallest margin, the council agreed to send the message. Lyra was given the fastest scout ship in their fleet. The vessel was barely large enough for one person, but it could travel farther and faster than any other Veltari craft. Its crystal hull would bend light around itself, making detection difficult. The ship's bio-neural systems would respond to her thoughts directly. As dawn broke over the crystal cities, Lyra made final preparations. She recorded messages for her family and friends, not knowing if she would ever return. The ship's computers held star charts that pointed toward coordinates so old they might lead nowhere. Zara came to see her off at the launch platform. The two women embraced and shared one final mental connection. Through it, passed all the hopes and fears of their people, all the love for their beautiful dying world. "Find them," Zara whispered. "Find the Guardians. Bring them home." Lyra climbed into her ship and sealed the crystal canopy. The engines hummed to life with musical tones that echoed across the platform. She took one last look at the purple and gold sky, then activated the jump drive. The ship vanished into hyperspace, carrying the desperate hope of an entire species. Behind her, Ethros continued its slow dance around three suns, while in the darkness between stars, hungry shadows moved closer each day. Lyra did not know that the coordinates in her navigation system pointed not toward mythical guardians, but toward the edge of human space. She did not know that the species she sought to find were warriors, unlike anything her peaceful people had ever imagined. She flew toward salvation, carrying the fate of her world in her hands, while the galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would answer her call. The USS Valiant cut through space like a steel predator hunting in the darkness. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge watching the star field through the main view screen. Her brown hair was pulled back in military regulation style, and her green eyes missed nothing. The destroyer had been patrolling the outer rim for 3 months, without seeing anything more dangerous than space debris. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, called out Lieutenant Amy Carter from the tactical station. "Unknown vessel approaching our position, range approximately 50,000 kilometers. Lisa moved to the tactical display. The screen showed a small blip moving toward them at high speed. "Configuration unknown, Captain," Amy continued. "I have never seen anything like it. The hull appears to be crystalline." "Red alert," Lisa ordered. Sirens wailed through the ship as crew members ran to battle stations. "All hands prepare for possible contact with unknown hostile. Communications try to raise them on all frequencies." The communications officer shook his head after several minutes. "No response, Captain. They are not using any known transmission protocols. Wait, I am getting something, but the computer cannot translate it." On the view screen, Lyra's scout ship grew, larger as it approached. The crystal hull caught starlight and bent it into rainbow patterns. To human eyes, it looked beautiful, but alien in a way that set off every defensive instinct they possessed. "Weapons status," Lisa demanded. "All weapons online and tracking target," Amy reported. "Torpedo tubes loaded, point defense systems active." Lisa studied the approaching ship. It was small and did not appear heavily armed, but that meant nothing. Unknown technology could hide any number of threats. As a frontier patrol captain, she had seen too many ships that looked harmless until they opened fire. "Distance 20,000 kilometers enclosing," Amy announced. "Captain, the ship is slowing. It appears to be trying to achieve a parallel course." Inside her scout ship, Lyra felt growing confusion and fear. The massive metal vessel ahead of her bristled with weapon emplacements. She could see gun turrets tracking her movement and missile ports standing open. This was not what the stories had described. The ethereal guardians were supposed to be wise and peaceful, beings who solved conflicts through understanding and harmony. The ship she faced looked like it was built for nothing but war. Every line of its design spoke of violence and aggression. She tried again to send the standard peaceful greeting protocols, but received no response. Her translation systems detected multiple transmission attempts from the other ship, but could make no sense of the language patterns. The mathematical structures were completely foreign to anything in Veltari databases. "They are trying to communicate," the communications officer reported. But whatever language they use is unlike anything we have on file. Lisa watched the alien ship maintain its distance, while both vessels tried unsuccessfully to establish communication. The situation was tense but not immediately threatening. She had to make a decision that could affect humanity's first contact with an unknown species. "Stand down from red alert but maintain yellow alert," she ordered. "Deploy a communication probe. Load it with basic mathematical concepts and human language samples. Maybe we can establish some kind of dialogue." The probe launched from the Valiant and drifted toward Lyra's ship. She watched it approach with growing alarm. To her sensors, it looked like a small missile or monitoring device. Her people had no experience with military technology, so she interpreted everything through the lens of what little she knew about weapons. When she detected the probe attempting to interface with her ship's computers, Lyra panicked. Stories from the colonies spoke of Krexnathi devices that infiltrated systems before attacking. She activated her ship's defensive fields and prepared to flee. The sudden energy discharge from the scout ship's shields appeared on the Valiant's sensors as a possible weapon activation. Amy Carter's training kicked in automatically. "Energy spike from the alien vessel," she called out. "They are powering weapons." "Evasive maneuvers," Lisa ordered. "Target their engines. Prepare to disable them." The Valiant rolled away from Lyra's position while its weapons locked on. Lyra saw the massive ship moving and interpreted it as an attack run. She pushed her engines to full power and tried to escape. "They are fleeing, Captain," Amy reported. "Should we pursue?" Lisa weighed her options. Letting an unknown alien ship escape could pose a threat to human colonies, but attacking without provocation could start a war with a species they knew nothing about. The decision was made for her when Lyra's ship developed engine problems. The scout ship's bio-neural systems had been designed for efficiency, not combat. The stress of maximum acceleration combined with the defensive field activation overloaded several key components. Lyra found herself drifting in space with failing life support and no way to jump to hyperspace. "The alien vessel has stopped, Captain," Amy announced. "I am reading system failures across their ship. Life support appears to be failing." Lisa made her choice. "Prepare a boarding party. We bring them aboard for medical assistance and questioning. Full environmental suits until we know what they breathe. Dr. Kate Sullivan to the shuttle bay." Dr. Kate Sullivan was the ship's chief science officer and xenobiologist. Her blonde hair and blue eyes gave her a deceptively harmless appearance, but she possessed one of the sharpest minds in the fleet. She had spent years studying theoretical alien life forms and preparing for first contact scenarios. The boarding shuttle approached Lyra's failing ship carefully. Through the crystal hull, they could see a single occupant who appeared to be unconscious. The alien was humanoid in basic structure, but clearly not human. Pale blue skin and silver hair marked her as something completely new. "Life signs are weak but stable," Kate reported over the radio. "The ship's atmosphere is oxygen-nitrogen mix, but with different ratios than we use. I can work with this." They brought Lyra aboard the Valiant unconscious and barely breathing. Kate worked frantically in sickbay to stabilize her condition while Lisa watched through the observation window. The alien woman was beautiful in an otherworldly way that made humans feel both attracted and nervous. "Will she live?" Lisa asked. "I think so," Kate replied. "Her biology is surprisingly similar to ours in basic functions. The main problem was carbon dioxide poisoning from her failing life support. Her ship was running out of air." When Lyra woke up hours later, she found herself in a strange room surrounded by metal walls and artificial lights. The air smelled wrong and the gravity felt too heavy. 3 humans stood nearby, watching her with expressions she could not read. Kate stepped forward slowly with her hands visible and empty. "Hello," she said in clear, simple words. "We want to help you." Lyra tried to sit up, but weakness made her head spin. She looked at the humans and felt her heart sink with despair. These were not the wise, peaceful guardians her people needed. They wore military uniforms and carried weapons. Their minds felt closed and aggressive compared to the open thoughts of her own kind. "Please," she whispered in her own language. "My people are dying. The destroyers come from the void. We need the guardians." Kate activated her portable translation device and began the slow process of establishing communication. Mathematical concepts came first, followed by basic words and concepts. The work took hours, but gradually a bridge of understanding began to form between the species. When Lyra finally managed to convey images of the Krexnathi destruction, the atmosphere in the room changed completely. The humans had been treating her as a possible threat or curiosity. Now, they began to understand she was a refugee from a war beyond their imagination. "Show me again," Lisa demanded through the translation system. "Show me these destroyers." Lyra closed her eyes and concentrated. Her natural telepathic abilities were weak compared to most of her people, but she could share basic images and emotions. The humans felt a brief touch of alien thought, showing them organic ships the size of cities consuming entire worlds. Kate gasped and stepped backward. Amy's hand moved instinctively toward her weapon before she caught herself. Lisa stood frozen as the implications hit her. Somewhere in space, a species was being hunted to extinction by creatures that made humanity's worst nightmares look tame. How many ships do they have? Lisa asked. The translation took several attempts before Lyra understood the question. Her answer made the humans go pale. Thousands of bioships moving through space like a living fleet, each one capable of destroying human dreadnoughts through sheer size and adaptive biology. "And they are coming toward our space?" Amy asked. Lyra nodded weakly. The Krexnathi consumed everything in their path. They would not stop with her people. They would continue until every living world was empty. Lisa looked at her officers and saw her own thoughts reflected in their faces. Humanity had just made first contact with an alien species and learned that something even worse was coming to kill them all. Admiral Rebecca Hayes stood in the command center of Starbase Phoenix, watching the tactical displays with growing concern. The emergency session had been called after Captain Morgan's first contact report reached Fleet Headquarters. Now representatives from across human space debated whether to involve their species in an alien war. "The risk is enormous," argued General Patricia Walsh from her seat at the conference table. "We know nothing about these Veltari except what one refugee tells us. This could be an elaborate trap to draw our forces away from defending human colonies." Rebecca studied the holographic display showing long-range sensor data. Deep space monitoring stations had detected massive energy signatures moving through the galaxy toward human space. The readings matched what Lyra had described about Krexnathi bioships. "The energy patterns are unlike anything we have seen before," reported Dr. Susan Martinez from the Science Division. "If these readings are accurate, we are looking at individual ships with power outputs equivalent to our largest battle stations." Amy Carter stood at attention beside the display. She had been promoted to commander after her performance during first contact and now served as Rebecca's tactical advisor. Her report painted a grim picture of humanity's chances against the approaching threat. Based on the aliens' descriptions, each Krexnathi bioship is approximately 10 kilometers long, Amy explained. They possess adaptive armor that learns from weapon impacts and regenerative systems that repair damage in real time. Our standard kinetic weapons and energy beams appear to be ineffective. Rebecca listened to the debate while studying intelligence, reports from the frontier. 3 human colonies had gone silent in the past week with no distress calls or explanation. Search and rescue ships found empty space where thriving worlds should have been. "The decision is made," Rebecca announced. "We deploy a task force to investigate the threat and assist the Veltari if possible. Admiral Murphy will command the USS Liberty and USS Destiny carrier groups along with supporting vessels." The vote was not unanimous, but military necessity outweighed political concerns. Humanity could not afford to let an enemy reach human space unchallenged. Better to fight them in alien territory than wait for them to arrive at Earth. Meanwhile, on Ethros, Zara Nimtel received Lyra's transmission with mixed emotions. Her young diplomat had found powerful aliens willing to help, but they were nothing like the peaceful guardians the Veltari had hoped to discover. The humans carried weapons that could destroy cities and spoke casually of acceptable casualty rates in warfare. "They want to establish military bases on our worlds," Zara reported to the Emergency Council session. "They speak of orbital bombardments and strategic withdrawal plans. These humans think like predators, not protectors." Elder Veltar Kethsane raised his crystalline hand for attention. His ancient voice carried the wisdom of 15 centuries. "Perhaps we judge too quickly. The destroyers come not with wisdom, but with hunger. Maybe only predators can fight predators." The debate among the Veltari was different from the human discussion, but equally intense. Some council members wanted to refuse human help rather than compromise their peaceful principles. Others argued that survival mattered more than maintaining ideological purity. Dr. Kate Sullivan worked around the clock to establish better communication with Lyra. The young Veltari had recovered from her injuries, but remained weak from the stress of her journey. Kate found herself fascinated by the alien woman's biology and culture. "Your people share thoughts naturally," Kate observed during one of their sessions. "That must make deception nearly impossible in your society." Lyra nodded sadly. "We cannot understand how your people function with closed minds. The loneliness must be terrible. How do you know what others truly think or feel?" "We watch their actions," Kate replied. "We listen to their words and try to judge their intentions. It is not perfect, but we manage." The cultural gap between species became apparent in dozens of small ways. Humans ate meat while Veltari consumed only plants and synthetic nutrients. Human military discipline seemed harsh and rigid to beings who made decisions through consensus and shared understanding. Veltari artistic expression appeared impractical and wasteful to humans focused on efficiency and function. When the human task force arrived at Ethros, the differences became even more pronounced. Admiral Murphy deployed his ships in defensive formations around the planet while human engineers began constructing orbital weapons platforms. To the Veltari, it looked like an invasion by their supposed allies. "They pollute our sky with metal constructions," complained Elder Nimvol during the council session. "Their ships burn chemical fuel and leave waste in space. They speak of turning our cities into fortresses." Zara tried to mediate between the two species, but found herself caught between incompatible worldviews. The humans saw the approaching Krexnathi as a military problem requiring military solutions. The Veltari hoped for some diplomatic resolution that would preserve their way of life. The first joint planning session was a disaster. Human officers spread tactical maps across tables while explaining concepts like kill zones and acceptable losses. Veltari representatives recoiled from language that treated sentient death as a statistical necessity. "You cannot seriously propose destroying our agricultural platforms," protested Veltari military coordinator Zen Ali Morthe. "Those facilities feed millions of our people." Colonel Sarah Thompson pointed at the display showing Krexnathi approach vectors. "Those platforms are directly in the enemy's path. They will be consumed anyway, but first, they will provide resources that make the bioships stronger. We deny them materials and funnel their attack toward prepared defensive positions." "This is not protection," Zen Ali replied. "This is calculated barbarism. You speak of our people as if they were pieces on a game board." Amy Carter tried to explain human military doctrine, but found Veltari concepts of warfare completely foreign. The aliens had fought wars in their ancient past, but always with the goal of minimizing casualties and preserving civilian life. The idea of strategic sacrifice was alien to them. Kate Sullivan found herself serving as an unofficial ambassador between the species. Her scientific background helped her understand Veltari technology, while her human perspective let her explain military necessity to the aliens. "Your people are dying," she told Lyra during one of their private conversations. "The Krexnathi will not negotiate or show mercy. Sometimes survival requires choices that feel wrong." Lyra struggled to understand human thinking. "But if we become like the destroyers to fight them, what victory can we claim? If we abandon everything we believe to survive, what remains to preserve?" The breakthrough came when long-range sensors detected the leading edge of the Krexnathi fleet. The bioships were massive, beyond anything either species had imagined. Individual vessels dwarfed human battleships and moved through space with organic grace that suggested intelligence rather than mere technology. "Preliminary scans show adaptive armor plating and self-repairing hull sections," reported the sensor officer aboard the USS Liberty. "Energy readings are off the scale. Each ship appears to be a living organism, enhanced with mechanical systems." Admiral Murphy studied the tactical data with growing concern. His task force included 2 of humanity's newest carriers, along with supporting cruisers and destroyers. Against normal opponents, the force would be overwhelming. Against the approaching bioships, it looked inadequate. "We need Veltari technology," he admitted during a joint strategy session. Your energy systems and crystal matrices might be able to penetrate their adaptive defenses. Our weapons alone will not be enough. For the first time since the Alliance began, the Veltari leadership showed interest. Their biocrystal technology operated on principles that human science barely understood. Combined with human tactical doctrine, it might create weapons the Krexnathi could not adapt to fast enough. Zara made the difficult decision to authorize full technology sharing. Veltari scientists began working with human engineers to create hybrid weapons systems. The work required unprecedented cooperation between species with completely different approaches to problem-solving. "Your people build things to last forever," observed human engineer Dr. Linda Foster. "Every component is perfect, but the system takes months to construct. We build things to work well enough for the mission, then replace them quickly." Veltari technician Mordal Kethmar struggled to understand human manufacturing concepts. But why accept inferior performance when perfection is possible? Why replace something that could be repaired? The cultural exchange worked both ways. Humans learned to appreciate Veltari attention to detail and harmony, while the aliens began to understand human adaptability and pragmatic thinking. Neither species abandoned their core values, but both gained new perspectives. As the Krexnathi fleet drew closer, the two species worked frantically to prepare joint defenses. Human tactical expertise combined with Veltari technology created new possibilities neither side had imagined alone. Orbital platforms housing crystal energy arrays, fighter craft with bio-neural targeting systems, weapons that could adapt as quickly as their targets. The Krexnathi emerged from hyperspace like nightmares given physical form. Their bioships stretched across the darkness in formations that hurt to look at directly. Each vessel pulsed with organic light and moved with predatory grace that suggested hunger beyond human understanding. Captain Lisa Morgan watched from the bridge of her destroyer as the enemy fleet took position at the edge of the Ethros system. Her ship had been upgraded with Veltari crystal arrays that hummed with barely contained energy. The new weapons felt alien under her hands, but sensors showed their power output far exceeded anything purely human technology could achieve. "Fleet composition analysis complete," reported her tactical officer. "We count 47 major bioships, ranging from 5 to 15 kilometers in length, multiple smaller vessels that appear to be fighter analogs. Total mass estimates suggest each major vessel outweighs our largest dreadnought by a factor of 10. Admiral Murphy coordinated the defense from his flagship USS Liberty. Around him, human and Veltari officers worked side by side at stations that combined the technology of both species. The integration was imperfect, but functional enough for combat operations. "All ships report ready for battle," announced Commander Amy Carter from her position at the Tactical Center. "Hybrid weapon systems are online. Veltari energy matrices are stable." On the planet below, Zara Nimtel stood in the council chambers watching the sky through crystal walls. Her people gathered in meditation circles, sending thoughts of support to their defenders while preparing for evacuation if the battle went badly. The Veltari way of war included spiritual elements that humans found puzzling, but they had learned not to interfere. "The destroyers make no attempt to communicate," reported Veltari sensor operator Ketlan from the orbital monitoring station. "Their bioships are scanning our defenses but show no interest in negotiation or surrender demands." Dr. Kate Sullivan worked frantically in her mobile laboratory studying biological samples recovered from previous Krexnathi attacks. The enemy organisms defied conventional classification. They appeared to be engineered rather than evolved creatures, designed specifically for consumption and warfare. "The cellular structure suggests hive intelligence," she reported to Admiral Murphy. "Individual bioships may be components of a larger collective consciousness. Destroying one might not stop the others, but it could disrupt their coordination." The first contact attempt came from the Veltari, who still hoped for peaceful resolution. Elder Nimvol broadcast messages of greeting and offers for negotiation on all frequencies. The response was immediate and terrifying. A smaller bioship detached from the main fleet and approached the orbital communication array. Instead of responding to the diplomatic overtures, it began consuming the station. Metallic structures dissolved under biological acids, while organic tendrils absorbed the raw materials and fed them back to the main vessel. "Communication station is gone," reported the sensor officer with shock in his voice. The bioship literally ate it. The station is being digested and converted into additional ship mass. Admiral Murphy realized that traditional concepts of warfare did not apply to the Krexnathi. They were not conquerors seeking territory or resources in any human sense. They were consumers who viewed all matter as potential food, including the ships and crews sent to fight them. All ships move to engagement range, he ordered. Target the closest bioship with concentrated fire. Let us see how well their adaptive defenses work against hybrid weapons. The first human Veltari salvo lit up space with energy beams that bent reality around their focal points. Crystal-enhanced particle cannons struck the target bioship with enough force to vaporize a normal vessel. The alien ship shuddered under the impact but remained intact. Direct hits confirmed, called Amy Carter. Target hull integrity at 80%. The bioship is adapting its armor to deflect similar attacks. Even as they watched, the damaged vessel began to change. Its organic hull shifted density and composition to better resist the weapons being used against it. Within minutes, the same. Weapon systems that had wounded it became significantly less effective. "This is what we feared," Admiral Murphy said grimly. "They learn from every attack. We need to vary our tactics constantly to stay ahead of their adaptation rate." The Krexnathi response was swift and devastating. Bioships launched swarms of smaller organisms that moved like guided missiles but fought like living creatures. The attack craft could change course unpredictably and seemed to coordinate their movements through some form of collective intelligence. Human fighter squadrons engaged the alien swarms in a chaotic battle that stretched across the system. Pilot Ellen Rodriguez led her wing in an attack run against a medium bioship, only to watch in horror as it extended organic tentacles to snare her fighters. Break off," she called over the radio. "The ship is trying to capture us alive." Her wingman, Lieutenant Tom Baker, was not fast enough. Organic tendrils wrapped around his fighter and began pulling it toward openings in the bioship hull. Through his cockpit cameras, the other pilots could see movement inside the alien vessel that suggested the crew would be consumed along with their aircraft. "Taking the shot," Ellen announced. She targeted her teammate's fighter with her own weapons and destroyed it before the Krexnathi could complete their capture. The explosion left her shaking, but she had saved her friend from a fate worse than death. The battle quickly turned against the defenders. Veltari ships with their graceful designs and defensive philosophy were completely outmatched by Krexnathi aggression. Their beautiful crystalline hulls shattered under bioweapon impacts that dissolved matter at the molecular level. Captain Velian Morcell of the Veltari cruiser Harmony watched his ship being consumed around him. The bioweapons did not simply destroy, they converted destroyed matter into additional Krexnathi biomass. His crew was being dissolved and absorbed to make the enemy stronger. "All hands abandon ship," he ordered through the failing communication system. "Do not let them take you alive." Lisa Morgan brought her destroyer alongside the dying Veltari vessel and used tractor beams to pull escape pods away from the approaching bioships. Her ship groaned under the strain of rapid maneuvering, while Krexnathi fighters swarmed around them like angry insects. "We cannot save them all," her tactical officer reported. "The bioships are specifically targeting the escape pods. They want to consume the survivors." Lisa made the hardest decision of her military career. She opened fire on Veltari escape pods that were about to be captured, knowing that quick death was better than being slowly digested by alien predators. Each shot felt like murder, but it was the only mercy she could offer. The human ships fared better than their Veltari allies, but not by much. The USS Destiny took multiple hits from bioweapons that ate through her armor plating like acid through paper. Admiral Murphy watched his flagship's casualty reports climb as sections of the ship were consumed from the inside out. "Hull breaches on decks 12 through 15, reported damage control. "We are losing life support in the forward sections. The bioweapon residue is still active and spreading. Dr. Kate Sullivan worked in emergency medical stations treating casualties from the bioweapon attacks. The alien substances caused injuries unlike anything in human medical literature. Victims were being converted into organic matter compatible with Krexnathi biology while still alive. I need emergency amputation authorization," she called to Admiral Murphy over the communication system. "The bioweapon contamination is spreading through their nervous systems. We have to remove infected tissue before it reaches vital organs." The Admiral authorized field surgery that would save some lives at the cost of permanent disability. Throughout the fleet, Similar decisions were being made as human and Veltari medical teams fought to save what they could from the biological nightmare consuming their crews. Amy Carter coordinated defensive fire from the tactical center while tracking the battle's progress on holographic displays. The numbers told a grim story. 3 Veltari ships destroyed with all hands, 2 human cruisers heavily damaged and withdrawing, fighter losses approaching 60%. "Admiral, we need to fall back," she reported. "Our weapons are becoming less effective as the bioships adapt. They are learning our tactics faster than we can develop new ones." Admiral Murphy faced the reality that his task force was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that grew stronger with every exchange. The Krexnathi had not even committed their main fleet yet. The 47 bioships hanging at the edge of the system represented reserves held back for the final assault. "All ships prepare for withdrawal to secondary defensive positions," he ordered. "We will make our stand at the inner system where the orbital." The retreat was a fighting withdrawal that cost more ships and lives. Krexnathi pursuit craft harassed the human fleet while larger bioships moved to secure the outer system. Each engagement taught the aliens more about human and Veltari capabilities while depleting the defenders' strength. Lyra worked alongside Kate Sullivan in the mobile medical station, treating wounded from both species. The young Veltari diplomat had become an unofficial liaison between the crews, helping human medics understand alien biology while translating for injured Veltari who could not speak human languages. Dr. Kate Sullivan stared at the biological analysis results with growing excitement, despite the desperate situation around her. The mobile laboratory shook as another Krexnathi probe struck the orbital defense platform, but she forced herself to focus on the data streaming across her screens. "I found something," she announced over the communication system to Admiral Murphy. "The bioships have a critical weakness in their neural network structure. They use electromagnetic frequencies to coordinate their collective intelligence. If we can disrupt those frequencies, we might be able to break their hive-mind connection." Admiral Murphy studied the technical readout, while Krexnathi forces continued their relentless advance toward Ethros. His remaining ships were positioned around the planet in defensive formations that could not possibly stop 47 bioships, each larger than human dreadnoughts. "What kind of electromagnetic pulse would we need?" he asked. "Our standard EMP generators are not powerful enough to affect ships that size." Kate highlighted sections of her analysis, showing the specific frequency ranges that seemed critical to Krexnathi coordination. "We would need to sacrifice multiple ships as massive electromagnetic pulse generators. The power requirements are enormous, but theoretically possible." Captain Lisa Morgan listened to the discussion from her position, aboard the heavily damaged destroyer. Her ship had taken severe bioweapon hits during the retreat but remained operational. When she understood what Kate was proposing, she immediately volunteered her crew for the suicide mission. "The USS Valiant can be configured as an EMP generator," she announced. "We overload our reactor core and channel the energy through our crystal arrays. It will destroy the ship, but the electromagnetic pulse should reach several bioships." Admiral Murphy was about to approve the desperate plan when Lyra spoke up from her position at the alien liaison station. The young Veltari had been studying the technical data and communicating with her people on the planet below. "Wait," she said. "My people have a better solution. Veltari crystal technology can amplify electromagnetic effects without destroying your ships, but it requires perfect coordination between our species." Zara Nimtel appeared on the communication screen from the planetary command center. Behind her, Veltari technicians worked frantically at biocrystal control matrices that pulsed with natural energy. "We can synchronize our planetary crystal network with your ship systems," she explained. "Together, we can generate the required electromagnetic pulse." The plan was audacious and required trust between species that barely understood each other. Human ships would need to lower their defensive shields while Veltari crystal arrays linked directly to their power systems. Any mistake would leave both fleets vulnerable to Krexnathi attack. "Time to implementation?" Admiral Murphy asked. 30 minutes to establish the connections," Zara replied. "But we need your ships in precise formation above our crystal cities. The slightest deviation will break the harmonic resonance." 30 minutes they did not have. Long-range sensors showed the Krexnathi main fleet accelerating toward the inner system. The bioships had learned from their previous encounters and moved with tactical precision that suggested they understood human defensive strategies. All Ships move to coordinates provided by Veltari Command, Admiral Murphy ordered. Engineering teams prepare for direct interface with alien technology. This is not a drill. Amy Carter coordinated the complex repositioning while monitoring Krex-Nathi approach vectors. The human ships had to maintain specific distances from each other and from the planet, while Veltari technicians extended crystal matrix connections through space. Bioship formation is changing, she reported. They appear to be targeting our largest vessels first. Estimated time to weapons range is 15 minutes. Kate Sullivan worked directly with Lyra to establish the technical interfaces needed for the plan to succeed. Human engineering teams had never attempted to integrate their technology with living crystal systems that responded to telepathic commands rather than electronic controls. Your people think in straight lines, Lyra observed as they struggled with the connections. You force energy to flow through predetermined paths. We guide it naturally through resonant frequencies. Can you teach us quickly enough? Kate asked, while watching the countdown timer that showed Krex-Nathi arrival. Not teach, Lyra replied, but I can link our minds temporarily. Through me, you can feel how the crystals respond. The telepathic connection was unlike anything Kate had experienced. For a moment, she felt the vast network of living crystals that extended beneath Ethros' surface. Each formation resonated with specific frequencies that created harmonic patterns across the entire planet. I understand, Kate said suddenly. The crystals are not just technology. They are a living extension of your people's consciousness. They respond to intention as much as engineering. Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Morgan prepared her crew for what might be their final battle. The USS Valiant had been positioned directly above the largest Veltari crystal city where the harmonic effects would be strongest. Her ship would serve as the focal point for the electromagnetic pulse. All hands, this is the captain, she announced over the ship's communication system. We are about to attempt something that has never been tried before. Human technology and alien science working together to save both our species. Whatever happens today, remember that we fought not for conquest, but for the survival of innocent life. The Krex-Nathi fleet entered weapons range, just as the last connections were established. Between human ships and Veltari crystal arrays, bioships immediately opened fire with weapons that had adapted specifically to counter human and Veltari defenses. Incoming fire, Amy Carter called out. All ships maintain position. Do not break formation, no matter what happens. The orbital defense platforms returned fire with every weapon they possessed, but their attacks barely scratched the bioship hulls. The Krex-Nathi had learned too much from previous encounters. Their adaptive armor now deflected most conventional weapons, while their bioplasma cannons tore through human shields like tissue paper. USS Ranger taking critical damage, reported the communications officer. They are requesting permission to break formation. Negative, Admiral Murphy replied grimly. All ships hold position until the pulse is ready. Dr. Kate Sullivan monitored the crystal array charging cycle while coordinating with Veltari technicians through Lyra's telepathic link. The resonance patterns were building slowly as massive amounts of energy flowed through living crystal networks that had never been designed for warfare. Harmonic alignment at 60%, she reported. The crystals are responding, but we need more time. Time they did not have. The USS Destiny exploded under concentrated bioship fire, sending debris across the formation. 3 more human vessels took severe damage while trying to maintain their positions above the crystal cities. Admiral, we have lost 30% of our fleet, Amy Carter announced. If we do not act soon, there will be nothing left to save. Zara Nimtel made the decision that changed everything. From her position in the Planetary Command Center, she opened her mind completely to the crystal network and began singing the harmonic frequencies that resonated through every Veltari soul. Across the planet, millions of her people joined the song. Their combined telepathic voices created resonance patterns that flowed through the crystal matrices and into the human ships above. For the first time in their history, Veltari and humans shared a common purpose that transcended species boundaries. Harmonic alignment at 95%, Kate announced with awe in her voice. I can feel them. I can feel all of them thinking together. The electromagnetic pulse erupted from the combined human-Veltari formation like an invisible storm that washed across the Krex-Nathi fleet. Bioships that had seemed unstoppable suddenly lost coordination as their hive mind connections were severed. Individual bioships began firing on each other as their collective intelligence fragmented into confused individual organisms. The largest vessel tried to restore communication with the others, but the electromagnetic interference continued to disrupt their neural networks. "It is working," Lyra said with tears in her violet eyes. "They cannot think together anymore. They are just animals now." But the victory was incomplete. Even separated from their hive mind, the bioships remained dangerous predators with adaptive armor and devastating weapons. The electromagnetic pulse had bought time, but not won the war. Admiral Rebecca Hayes arrived at that moment with the full human fleet. 200 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation and immediately began implementing the new combined tactics developed during the battle. "This is Admiral Hayes to all units." Her voice cut through the chaos of battle. "We have studied the enemy weaknesses. The reinforcement fleet carried weapons specifically designed to exploit Krexnathi vulnerabilities. Frequency modulators that prevented bioship adaptation. Crystal-enhanced particle beams that disrupted organic hull integrity. Most importantly, they carried human determination backed by Veltari wisdom." Amy Carter led a combined human-Veltari boarding party to the largest bioship. Their mission was to plant electromagnetic pulse charges that would prevent the hive mind from reforming.